I'm sick as a dog, but USC had a huge recruiting weekend, and I've got some inside intel from inside the McKay Center walls.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, it's always free, and I'm always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So if you're watching on the YouTube, I apologize. I've been sick. I got some sort of sinus thing going on right side of my face. Looks like it's been in a fight with Mike Tyson. I do apologize. It's worse than usual, but I'm here, and I got some big news for you. Big show to open up the week. Going back to last week, my everydayers, you heard this. You knew Jonas Williams, the cornerback, was going to commit to USC. The only question was when. Well, he chose Friday. It happened. He picked a Friday night news drop, very unassuming. So we're going to talk about that. Then I got this text message over the weekend, and filled with pictures. And it came from inside the McKay Center. And it was the wall. It showed me their offensive depth chart. It showed me the defensive depth chart. We're going to talk about that in the second segment. And then again, if Jonas Williams' commitment wasn't enough, guess what? USC got a second commitment over the weekend. Timothé Katawanga from JSerra, San Juan Capistrano. He put out his video, short little video on social media, declaring that he's staying home. So let's go. Got a lot of information to talk about. So now that USC has their quarterback commit for the 2026 cycle, and he could be just the first quarterback commitment, Jonas Williams. Don't forget, Ryder Lyons is still hanging around out there. He made his commitment known. He's going to be a USC Trojan. He did that Friday going into the weekend. And USC moved really quickly on this. I mean, that's how fast this flip happened. Jonas made his first appearance on USC's campus February 1st. USC was having a nice junior day. And then before this month is even over, what are we? February 24th when this episode's being published? Jonas has ditched the Ducks and he's committed to USC. So in a 3-week period, he shows up to junior day, the relationship gets developed, and boom, USC, as their 4-star quarterback, formerly committed to Oregon, is now committed to USC. So Jonas gave USC 10 commitments. But again, USC wasn't done. So now that USC has that quarterback committed in 2026, now it said, all right, Lincoln Riley, the rest of your recruiting staff, you can kind of shift your focus now. Do not be surprised if wide receivers start to come off the board. I mentioned Timothé Katawanga, the defensive end from JSerra. Well, he has a teammate, wide receiver. His name's Trent Mosley. Starting to see some crystal balls start to roll in for USC. Not saying he'll be the next commitment, but wouldn't, it'd be a safe bet if you say that he was going to come off the board next. But again, you got Jonas, and that wasn't the last guy. On Sunday, okay, I mentioned his name last week a couple of times. Timothé Katawanga, it happened. 6'5", 235 pounds, roughly. He decided he's going to stay home. He wants to make a difference. He wants to be one of those guys to help USC get to the national championship game. And then not just get there, win it. So again, he put out a cool little video on social media. Nothing over the top. Just some nice, cool music playing in the background. And during that whole time, I think it was like a minute and a half, he's just highlighting himself doing one of those beach workouts, working out in the sand. Good stuff. So if you didn't see the video, or if you didn't see his commitment on social media, basically it said this, quote, "I want to thank God for all the blessings he has poured upon me. I want to thank my family and friends for all the support and love you've given me. It has been a long and difficult process, but after prayers and discussions with my family, I'm home. End quote. Short, sweet, to the point. He said this after his visit day, his junior day at USC. He told On3 this. One of the biggest highlights of my visit was my meetings with the coaches. I spoke with Coach Antonlynn, Coach Sean Nua, Coach Eric Henderson, and Coach Lincoln Riley. They make me feel needed and like a priority. I love what they are building, and I can't wait to see what the future looks like. It's a great environment, culture, and staff. I think what excites me the most about the opportunity to play at USC is the chance to bring USC back to a national title and the way I can be versatile along the whole defensive line. End quote. So that's what he told On3. Did a little bit deeper dive. Wanted to see some other quotes. Ryan Young from Rivals, friend of the show. He's been on before. He caught up with Simone, and he asked him, said, what was the biggest factor ultimately in making your commitment to USC now? And this is what he said. Quote, a chance to be a hometown hero and change the narrative about USC. The main message was they need me. They want to keep me. They want to keep the best talent in California, and they want to stay in LA. I think what stood out was just the energy of the whole staff and the program in general. The whole visit was refreshing and great. USC has always been recruiting me hard ever since they offered me, but now there's a lot of things that are falling into place for them, end quote. Excuse me. So a lot of credit goes to Eric Henderson, Sean Nua. They tag teamed. They made Simite feel really important. But let's also throw in Coach Dog, Aaron Ama. He has made it his personal mission. He's going to keep every single Poly player at home. If they're from Southern California and they're part of the Polynesian culture, he wants you. And he's going to make sure you understand how bad USC wants you as well. Quote, my connection with Coach Nua and Coach Henney has been great. They always make me feel like a priority and always check in with me every week. So the next thing, we're going to see if his words hold true. One of the things that Katawonga said, he's basically shut down his recruitment. He has no plans to take any other visits this year. So he was asked, are you going to take any other visits? He said, nope, I'm locked in. Just USC. He said that on Sunday. So after USC flipped Jonas Williams, Rivals, their network, moved USC into the #1 spot. #1 recruiting class for the class of 2026. Now, with the addition of Simone, 24/7 has jumped in. They've moved USC's class to #1 in all of the land. So you have Rivals, you've got 247. For some reason, On3 hasn't made that move yet. They're literally percentage points behind Oregon right now. And I think On3 is penalizing USC because of that unranked commitment that they have. Andrew Williams from Fremont High School in LA. Right now, he doesn't have any stars. So that's what's dragging them down on the On3. This is why it's so subjective. And while I'll talk about the star rankings and the class commitments and all that type of stuff, because, you guys want to hear about it, keep in mind, how can two networks have USC #1, but the other one not? It makes no sense. Everything is looked at differently. And I know that sounds like a rant, but this stuff really irritates me. If USC didn't have a commitment from somebody who isn't ranked, On3 would have them with the number one ranked class. That's how stupid it is. Now, with that said, once Andrew Williams gets ranked, which he will sometime before the summer, during the summer, all of a sudden, USC's ranking will get adjusted. But we'll see, obviously other programs are going to get commitments between now and then. Same with USC. So we'll see what happens. But I had to point that out because to me, it was just so stupid. You got Rivals, USC #1, 247, USC #1, On3, USC #2. And you're just like, why? How come? Oh, that's why, because one of their 11 commits isn't ranked. Get your stuff together on three. I get it. It's your formula, whatever you want to use. Nevertheless, it makes you look bad. So here's the 11 players committed so far for the class of 2026. You've got Simote, you've got Jonas Williams, Xavier Griffin, RJ Sermons, Brandon Lockhart, Braden Jones, Madden Reardon, Joshua Holland, Sean Alston, Andrew Williams, and Jamiron Tron Baker. Now, of all those names, you counted 2 on offense. That's it. So far, this class has a heavy defensive flavor. And as I mentioned, I'm sure USC's ranking is going to, go up and down a little bit like an elevator. Hopefully on 3 will get on board sooner rather than later, because you got some other guys out there that are getting ready to drop a commitment. Guys like Vlad Diakonov, offensive tackle for Folsom, same school that Ryder Lyons plays at. You've got the running back, Deshaun Rideau, Oaks Christian, Kari Wildler, defensive end. You've got Sam Utu, offensive lineman, Orange Lutheran, David Benjamin, defensive back. So again, things are happening. Things are changing. Here's what I really like. And when you're done watching this episode of Locked on USC, head on over there to wearesc.com. Take advantage of the $1 subscription special that's going on, and check out all of the official visits that are being lined up. Yeah, Scott Schrader, he's keeping a running tab. He's dropping names at a pretty fast rate, so go check that out. What's really cool about this recruiting cycle compared to last year's, different vibe. USC got off to a fast start for their 2025 class. This one just feels a little bit different. NIL is definitely in place right now. Even outside observers are starting to notice. So when they're starting to take notice, so it's not just coming from me. People who have no vested interest in USC are like, uh-oh, what's going on over there? So the month isn't over yet. I have a feeling there could be at least one more commitment before the month ends. But you're going to stay tuned to Locked on USC so you can get all of your updates. And I will let you know when something happens. Right now, heading into the final week of February, USC has the #1 ranked class of the 2026 cycle. We'll see if they can now take that all the way up through signing day. A lot will change between now and then, though. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and it keeps every game exciting. Quick and easy. You'll love how you can make your picks, check this out, in less than 60 seconds. You're in and out. And then you can stay engaged in your game for the entire time. You don't have to keep checking back. You get fast payouts with Prize Picks. When you win, your money hits your account in as little as 15 minutes. You're not waiting around for it. They have specials like Taco Tuesday deals. Prize Picks even offers weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, where you get discounted player projections for even more value. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So I mentioned at the top of the show that I've been getting some text messages, some inside information. I got a mole. Got access to the McKay Center. Could be a member of the team. Could be a coach. Could be anybody. However, whoever it is, got some pictures. And it showed me, I'll call it the depth chart. Basically, it's all the players on the roster, scholarship and walk-on, and they're listed with their name plaques at their position group, and they're in descending order. So it leads you to believe This is how the coach is forecasting what the depth chart could look like heading into spring camp. And that's all you should look at this as. It's anecdotal. It's not etched in stone. These are name plaques that you can literally move around on a whiteboard. Okay, it's like magnets. So let's start with the offense. Left tackle, again, in descending order, Elijah Page, Elijah Vicona, Alex Payne. Yeah, Elijah Vicona, left tackle. Alex Payne, left tackle. Those two are part of the 2025 class. Left guard, DJ Wingfield, Micah Banuelos, Kalon Miller, Jack Sisner. At center, Killian O'Connor, John Ray Reed, Willie Washer. At right guard, Alani Noah, McKay Center, Erwin Tomei, Travis Leonard. At right tackle, and actually, I'm going to put this in there. You have Tobias Raymond and then Justin Tauanu. Their names were right next to each other. So that one of those or situations. And then after Justin, you had Aaron Dunn. At tight end, moving along, you have Lake McCree, Walker Lyons, Walter Matthews, Joey Olson, Nila Tupou, Carson Tabarachi. Running back, Brian Jackson, Amarian Peterson, Harry Dalton III, King Miller, walk-on, Riley Wormley, Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders, and Sean McKelvey. You're probably saying, Mark, why do you have a freshman and a couple and at least one walk-on ahead of the guys that USC recruited? I'm just reading you how it's listed. You guys can go off into Wonderland and figure it out. I'll say this. I highly doubt that Eli Sanders and Waymon Jordan are going to be below the walk-ons. You never know, though. Moving to the wide receiver spots. At the X position, you have Prince Strawn, Corey Sims, Asante Das, Brady Young. At the Y, Makai Lemon, Jay Fair, Seth Zamora, Colin Fossey, and then it was kind of interesting the way they had the X and Y situated on the board. In a floating position, you had Josiah Zamora and Corey Norris. So they're going to float back and forth between those two position groups, if I was to assume something. And then at the Z spot, you've got Jacoby Lane, Jaden Richardson, Xavier Jordan, Donovan Wood. Quarterback. I know you're saying, well, Mark, why didn't you start with quarterback? Jaden Mayava, Husong Longstreet, Sam Heward, Gage Roy, Dillian Gebbia, Jack Stupin. Excuse me. So there is the offensive side of the ball. Take it with a grain of salt. This means absolutely nothing other than this is the way it looked when the picture was taken over the weekend. All right. Let's move to the other side of the ball. Defense. Defensive end. Again, same rules apply. This is just how it is today. You've got Cameron Fountain, Braylon Shelby, Elijah Newby, Garrett Pomerantz. Interesting. Elijah Newby. No longer playing linebacker. He's playing defensive end. Has he put on that much size? I'll tell you who has gotten stronger. Braylon Shelby. If you haven't noticed, go check it out. It's on social media. A clean 600-pound squat, and it looked like he could have done an extra 100 pounds easily. So Braylon putting on the strength. Benny Wiley doing work. Defensive tackle. Jade Abasiri, Jamal Jarrett, Jakeem Stewart, Gus Cordova, Brendan Cho. Nose tackle. Kobe Pepe, Keyshawn Silver, Ratumana Bulabalavu, Carlon Jones, Floyd Bucard, Cash Jacobson, Cash Amos. I think USC is the only team in the country with two dudes named Cash. One spells it with a C, the other with a K. The other end, we'll call this the edge. You've got Anthony Lucas, Devin Tompkins, Jaden Ramos, Lorenzo Cowan. Okay. At nickel, DJ Harvey, Isaiah Rubin, Marcellus Williams, J.J. Johnson. One cornerback spot, you've got Prophet Brown, Alex Graham, Kevin Longstreet, Thornton Mitchell. Okay, did anybody see the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield? That's the best name since Thornton Mellon. I love the fact that USC has someone on the team named Thornton Mitchell. And then the other cornerback, you've got DeCarlos Nicholson, Braylon Conley, Treston Castro, Sean Sarah. Strong safety. We're going to go Kamari Ramsey, Kendarius D. Reddick, Jarvis Boatwright, Marquise Gallegos. At the weak side linebacker, at the will, you've got Eric Gentry, Anthony Beavers, Batai Tagoai, Garrison Madden, friend of the show, Roman Marchetti. At the Mike linebacker, Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, AJ Tuatele, and then Ryan Quintanar. I hope I pronounced that wrong. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I apologize to Ryan. Ryan Quintanar. Doing the best I can with that. So what did you notice out of that? A couple of things, obviously. First thing that popped out to me, the defensive tackle, Jade ahead of Jamal Jarrett. Okay. You've got Gus Cordova at defensive tackle. Interesting. And obviously I pointed out Eli Newby up there at defensive end. Again, don't take anything away from this other than this is what I've seen. What it means, I don't know exactly, but I do find it interesting. You might have noticed there were two names I didn't mention. On the opposite side of the ball was Hayden Trader. I didn't see his name plaque up there. I don't know what that means. And then on the defensive side of the ball, same thing with Malachi Crawford, cornerback. I do know both of those guys were hurt pretty much all year. Does that mean they're not available for spring? I don't know. I'm just pointing it out, and people are thinking, Mark, I didn't hear those two names. I'm just kind of throwing it out there for you. Food for thought, so to speak. So what do you think? All right, I'm going to put together my own depth chart as we get closer to spring camp. Hopefully, USC will release that news sooner rather than later. We don't have a start date yet. We do know there will not be a spring game this year. And I do have one other piece of intel. I'm waiting for one confirmation to make sure it's true. But on those name plaques, I saw some jersey numbers, and one of them popped out. Some of you might try and connect the dots. Go ahead, but I will let you know that well, I'm going to tease it. Somebody is going to be wearing a pretty cool. Well, let me get confirmation before I drop it. All right, one more segment to go. We're going to talk about men's and women's hoops. Excuse me. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off and you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can do that. You can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. You'll love using FanDuel's live betting feature because, again, it keeps every moment of the game exciting for you. Whether you are backing your team for a late game rally or picking a team to hit a clutch three, you will never feel like you missed a chance. Plus, app super easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book betting partner of the NBA. All right, before I get out of here, because I'm starting to feel pretty crappy, getting a little sweaty here. Women won, men lost. These two basketball programs are going in completely different directions right now. Juju Watkins, Kiki Ruffin, they both scored 22 points. And the women of Troy, number 4 ranked women of Troy, they knocked off number 25 Illinois, 76-66 at Galen Center. They retain first place in the Big Ten Conference, and they got one game left to play. That one game this weekend coming up against UCLA. Yeah. That game's going to decide the conference championship, the regular season conference championship. And as well as both of those teams are playing for a number one seed in the Big Dance, possibly the number one overall seed. So big game coming up. The last time the two teams met, USC got the win. UCLA took the opener of the best of three series. So this one will decide the whole thing. The men, on the other hand, having a rough one. They're going backwards. Look, they're playing hard. They're giving you max effort, but the results, they're just not there. They got swept on the road. This time, the Scarlet Knights, Rutgers, 95-85. It was a long road trip. I think USC got out to Maryland Tuesday. Their game was against the Turtles on Thursday. And then they've been in New Jersey or New York since Friday, and they played on Sunday. Long week. Typical game. They got up to a nice quick start, jumped out to a lead, and then Rutgers came back with their own little run, tied it up, and then all of a sudden Rutgers took a 5-point lead into halftime. And second half, it was just all Rutgers. The boys from Piscataway, New Jersey, they shot the lights out. It was going to take a Herculean effort by SC to pull this one out. Rutgers, 30 for 54 from the floor, 9 for 20 from three-point land, 24 out of 26 free throws. That'll get it done. They had a really good game offensively. USC just didn't have their defensive legs. Again, long road trip, but they had time between games, and I don't think they were tired per se. I just think the season is catching up to them. Wesley Yates was a story in the first half, Desmond Claude in the second half. They both ended up with over 20 points. But this team, they lack the cohesiveness. They're learning how to win together, and it's not coming. It's not happening. They're trying. I'm not faulting Eric Musselman, the coaching staff, or the team. They don't have the right pieces, bottom line. They're good enough to win any game they play. They're just not good enough to win for an extended period of time. Again, you don't have a true point guard. Claude does the best he can. He's making money. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have an NBA career, but he's an off guard. He's not a point guard. He's a facilitator. USC does not have anybody on the back line that can guard the paint. Josh Cohen, he played well, but again, he's not the answer. He got some extra minutes playing at home, well, closer to home in front of his parents. Again, he's not the dude that you can rely on in the paint. Physically, he's just not strong enough. He tries hard, not for lack of effort. It's just, he is what he is, right? Sometimes you are who you are. You give the guy credit for trying, but USC needs a true force in the middle right now. Rashawn Agee, he tries, but he's 6'7", 6'8" on a good day. Got long arms, but again, when you're playing up against 7-footers, big, strong 7-footers, you're undermanned, you're undersized. So we'll see what happens. Again, USC right now, the men, they got 14 wins. They're struggling just to make the Big Ten tournament, the big conference tournament. They're going to make it, I think. It's a matter of, can they get into that 9th spot and get a first-round bye? I don't know. Right now, they're just trying to stay alive. They come home. They got Ohio State this week, I think, on Tuesday. Yep. Ohio State just lost to UCLA at Pauley Pavilion Sunday night as well. So we'll see what happens. It was a rough week for the men of Troy on the basketball side. Football had a great weekend. #1 ranked recruiting class. More on the way. Things are looking good. All right. I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. Until then, everyone, now that you've made this episode your first watch, you're done. Make sure you check out Locked on College Football and then get over there to weareSC.com. I'm telling you, You want to find out who's coming on official visits? Scott Schrader's probably added 5 more names since I've done this episode. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.